This is Mark Livesey, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Someone tell me where the Humane Society of the United States has ever bought 1 acre of habitat, where they have ever funded one project that got rid of invasive weed species, where they've ever funded one project that got rid of the Asian carp in the Illinois River. I mean,
none of it.
Pick whatever it is. They've got net assets in the hundreds of millions, and they've never done anything.
I did this whole series of posts of the hierarchy of dead animals on Instagram, on social media. So I had like a picture of chicken. No one cares. Like dead, like chicken meat. A picture of chicken. A picture of fish, like cut up fish. No one cares. A picture of an actual fish. Still, no one seems to give a picture of a dead turkey. No one seemed to care. It seemed like But then I showed bear meat. And I showed some bear meat that was just in a bag. What about that? And I'm like, now we're getting weird, right? Well, it's just meat, but it says bear on it. This is bear meat.
We care about wildlife. We care about landscapes. We care about all the things that are necessary for conservation. We'll tax ourselves 11%.
But if I showed an actual bear, like we posted some pictures of he's taking me bear hunting, actual bears that I've killed. Gee, I've never had anything in my life where people get mad at me more.
Dude, do they not kill a single fish? Do they not eat fish? Eat one of those freaking fish.
All right, if this girl's going to hang around, she better be able to walk a river with me for a minute.
We also have some really nice pre-curved, low-key hats.
In this episode, we sit down with Garrison and Corinne Doctor at the Fly Fishing Show in Denver, Colorado. Garrison and Corinne are the founders and owners of Rep Your Water and Rep Your Wild. We really enjoyed our visit with these two and came away impressed with all that they do for conservation. They have partnered with and donate to Trout Unlimited and Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, to name a few. Whether you hunt or fish, this is a company and brand that you can get behind. To help you, Garrison and Corinne are offering 10% off both brands to all Gritty followers. From now through March 8th, simply type in the coupon code GRITTY at checkout. We hope you enjoy this podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and our YouTube channel. I'm Chad Nelson along with Brian Call. Here is today's podcast.
We're at the Fly Fishing Show here in Denver, Colorado. So welcome, guys.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks, guys.
So I've never heard of Rep Your Water before because I'm not really into fishing that much.
Fair.
But I'm working on that, improving my character, getting better at the fishing stuff. And but this is a pretty cool booth here. And you guys are all over the place now. Especially, you told us yesterday you're in Cabela's. You guys do, you're not making fishing rods.
We are not, no.
No.
You guys are blowing up.
We're doing what we can, but we also want to make sure that we're supporting our small specialty shops, too. I mean, that's really what has grown the brand for us and where kind of our bread is buttered on that, too.
What is Rep Your Water exactly?
So we started Rep Your Water about 5 years ago, and just to give you a little background, my background's in art and design, so I studied art and design. That's where I come from. But my passion has always been fly fishing and hunting. And working in the industry, I was working at a fly shop and doing some guiding, and it seemed like everything that was out there on the market in terms of logo wearing hats was either a big brand hat, brand X, or Fly Shop X in X Town. And I thought, I think it'd be cool if there was a hat that said, I love Colorado and I love to fish. I think people would dig that. So Corinne and I started kicking around some design ideas and kind of started snowballing from there.
And did you start out, what was your first product?
Colorado hat, Colorado fishing hat.
And is it one you designed?
Yep. Yeah, I do all the designs still for all of our products.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garrison's the creative side of it all, and I try to keep it running.
You're the boss.
Try to keep the ship afloat.
Yeah, you know.
So when you did this design, I mean, did you expect it to, it's like I've done some T-shirts and hats and stuff. I've paid some people to design some things and selling them, and it's not that easy.
It's not. No, I mean, at first it was a side hustle. It was something that we were passionate about. And, we both had full-time jobs doing other things. It's not like we were diving right into creating a startup. It was a side project that we loved doing. But
Just
the demand,
money out of our own pocket. We got like 24 hats made.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
And then I go into a fly shop and say, hey, you guys want a half a dozen of these? And then they call me after the weekend and say, hey, we sold all those on Saturday. You got any more? So then the ball started to roll a little bit, and we started working on Montana and Wyoming and other places where we spend time right away. And like I said, kind of snowballed from there.
And initially, did you just market these on social media, or how did you market these?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we started our social media feeds pretty early on, but really what kind of kickstarted it for us was having them in shops, and having some hats, in Silverthorne, Colorado, where people are coming through and fishing and picking them up, and then they go back to wherever they home is and say, oh, look at this, and their 5 buddies look at it, and then it starts to kind of pick up some steam.
You see your buddy in the river in the hat, you go, where can I get that?
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So to me, so who came up with the name Rep Your Water?
It was a joint effort, I think.
It was, but I will say Garrison was like, no matter what we name this, we need our slogan to be Represent Your Water, because that's what we're doing. He's like, you could just say Rep Your Water for short. I was like, why don't we just name it Rep Your Water then?
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does kind of, really highlight your brand.
Right.
So, how do you make, there's tons of hats and T-shirts and stuff that people can wear.
Right.
Definitely.
Right? And lots of, like you said, big brand name products like, you got Orvis and Winston and
right.
See me dropping like fly fishing names.
I liked that.
Right,
yes.
pretty good.
Yes, very
Right?
impressed.
Got to talk the talk.
Isn't it Hodgman or something like? Anyway, so you got these products, right? That guys can wear that and kind of go, I am a fly fisherman. But here you come out with this product and you roll with these hats. But still, I'm still intrigued. Like, how did you get people to? Because now it's super cool to wear one.
Right.
Wear the hat, wear the shirt. How did you make it cool?
Well, I think part of that is the conservation piece and kind of putting our money where our mouth is a little bit. And from very early on, we're coming up with all of these regional themed designs. And beyond just pushing a percentage back to conservation in a broad-based sort of sense, we wanted to push back regionally based off of designs. So instead of saying, X percentage goes to conservation, it's a great national nonprofit or what have you, but it's kind of hard to know where that money ends up, right? And so very early on, we wanted to say, hey, a percentage of the hat that you're purchasing that is a Colorado-themed hat is going to go to the Colorado chapter of Trout Unlimited.
Okay.
And so I think that lends some credibility, and I think it was a totally unique model at the time. Nobody was doing regionally themed fishing gear as far as we know. Mm-hmm. So it was a unique model. The designs were really clean. I think that helps. Yep. And then having that conservation piece built in. I think also authenticity is key in this industry. It's a small industry.
Yeah.
And, we love to fish. We're out there as much as we can. We love to fish and hunt. We're on the water. So I think having an authentic social media feed of stuff that we're doing, having our designs out there
on the feed. It's our friends on the feed of pictures we took. We have some great brand ambassadors too that many of them we know personally. They're not just random people that have reached out to us and want free gear. It's just really trying to keep that authentic part of the.
And today, you guys have hats and shirts for all 50 states.
All 50 states.
Right.
We have almost 40 hats that are tied to a species or one of our nonprofits. So we have a Backcountry Hunters and Anglers collab hat that Brian has on. Garrison has on the tee that matches that. Bonefish and Tarpon Trust, we've done a collab piece with them. So
yeah, we do a Wild Steelhead Coalition hat with those guys. They're one of our nonprofit partners out in the Pacific Northwest. So there's quite a few products, and we're growing more product line that isn't necessarily state specific.
And Corinne, we met you yesterday for the first time. You were talking to us about a cool write-up that someone did to you regarding what you've given back to conservation.
Yeah, so Garrison mentioned we've been around for about 5 years, and within the first month we partnered with Colorado TU to give them 1% of every sale. And we have some people say, 1%, come on, you can do more. We do have a 10% collection. We do have a couple hats that are a 50% donation, but over the last 5 years, just recently we hit the $60,000 mark of giving money to our conservation partners, which felt pretty exciting to us because 5 years ago we were like writing checks for $15 to Colorado Trout Unlimited, and to see that snowball, to see that add up, and
that's incredible.
Yeah, have really that amount of money going back to the people that are helping protect the places that we love to recreate in. It's pretty awesome.
That's a big chunk of money, I mean, for, a small business.
Right.
I have done a couple podcasts with my friend Jess Esposito, who started 2% for conservation.
Nice.
And kind of starting out on the hunting side, but the concept is, a lot of people said the same thing, like 2%. I mean, come on, it's not very much.
Yeah.
But when you talk 2% over a long period of time and you talk about it with larger dollars, 2% becomes quite a significant amount of money.
Definitely.
Another piece for us on the conservation is our typical consumer is not necessarily a Trout Unlimited member. The average Trout Unlimited member is of retirement age. And so the fact that every one of our tags says, 1% of your purchase supports our conservation partners, and we have them all featured on our website, it's getting those groups in front of a different demographic that wouldn't necessarily know that Trout Unlimited even exists. It seems obvious to us because we've been working with Trout Unlimited, but there's a ton of people that they're just too young to know, or in college and they don't have the extra $40 a year to send.
Yeah, I mean, part of conservation in itself is just, I think I heard Stephen Ronell at the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Rendezvous last year. He was a keynote speaker, and he was talking about how, as a young man, conservation never even dawned on him. He's like, as a young person, I was just taking from this awesome resource that my forebears had created for me, through conservation efforts and hard work and money and dollars. And here I am just consuming. And then years later, he's like, wow, I really should give back. And these organizations that he had never dawned on him before were now hitting his radar. And then he's as he's gotten older, his attitudes are changing. Now he's really trying hard to give back to all of those places and support those organizations. And I think it's just sometimes it has to do with age, but the younger, I think, this earlier you can get someone involved in that.
And thinking about it.
Yeah. So
they may not be a member yet. They just need to have it on their radar.
And that's been really important to us is, beyond a 1% is try to plant some seeds. Say, we think this is important. Right?
Well, what's cool about this show, too, is, Dwayne made this comment yesterday. He came into this show expecting to see a lot of old people.
Yeah.
And there's some, but a lot of them are young. Teenagers, young guys in their 20s. And it's cool to see that these guys are getting involved in the industry, learning about, fly fishing, all the different companies, programs out there, and educating themselves on conservation. When I was that age too, to Stephen Ranello's point, you take it for granted.
Totally.
You just think, hey, this is my land, this is public river, public water. You don't really understand what goes into conserve it, protect the fish species, grow the habitat, and make it available for all of us to be public land owners.
That's right.
That's it.
Wearing my
Absolutely.
BHA shirt today. Public landowner. I was really excited to hear about you. It's funny because I'm not in the fishing scene very much at all. until recently, and so I've been getting back into it. I fly fish
Chad'll
for
be a bad influence.
yeah, like 20 years I did it, but now it's like
We used to fish a lot together.
like every day.
And then he got snobby.
I just started hunting big game, and I don't know. I lost my way a little bit in the fishing world, but it's been fun to get back into it. But so I've really been focused on that big game side, and I'm a big fan of Meat Eater and Giannis, and well, they have the Hunt to Eat,
Right.
which I was telling Corin yesterday. I was like, this seems an awful lot like Hunt to Eat, right?
Right.
Got T-shirts for each state, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And they're doing some give back for conservation
Right.
and so on. But you guys were on the scene before they were.
Yeah, so we've been making, regionally themed big game designs as part of Rep Your Water for years now, because I love to hunt too.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to kind of figure out how to grow that side of it, and we have been growing that side of it. So we have regional gear, hats for all your kind of, showcase Western states that are big in big game hunting. So this year we're rebranding all that big game into Rep Your Wild.
Yeah.
So now it's not a hat that will have a fish tag on the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's fully big game branded, and a lot of really awesome stuff coming out here soon on the Rep Your Wild side. And we also do a Rep Your Water fowl line, so all sorts of waterfowl hunting gear that still fits under, both of those are still sort of under the Rep Your Water umbrella, but the Rep Your Wild will be more of a freestanding big game hunting brand.
And you guys have a serious catalog over there. Like, you have some choices. The designs are like varied and unique. It's a really neat brand. Like, I can come along, flip through it, and really find something that is truly like cool.
Well, we appreciate that. We're always keeping the wheels turning.
That's a lot of designs, dude.
Garrison doesn't toot his horn too much.
So do you
he says I do all the designs, but he really does. This is the guy behind all 350 designs.
I'm just going to be honest, dude. It has I'm from Portland, Oregon.
We went to college in Portland.
Yeah, I love the Pacific Northwest.
See, so it has a very hipster feel.
Right.
I went to the fishing film tour last night. I told Chad when we got home, like, dude, I'm in Hipsterville. This is like this is like Portland, Oregon here. I mean, it's like keep Portland weird. This is like kind of has a feel, man. Like the fly fishing community certainly has a like a very conservation hipster, a progressive kind of feel to it.
Yeah, there's that vibe for sure.
Yeah,
and we try to be all encompassing on that. Like, we definitely have some hipster vibe.
Yeah.
We can't shake that.
But
we also have some really
I can still
nice
bend the brim, dude.
Yeah.
And I still have.
Fine.
We also have some really nice pre-curved, low-key hats that aren't going to fall in that hipster window so much. And I think, as the Rep Your Wild brand grows, it's going to be, instead of an afterthought in a fishing catalog, like I said, a freestanding brand, and it's going to have a lot more credibility in the hunting community, I hope, as that can grow in its own right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's cool. One of the things I told Chad last night that is neat about the sort of community and the feel in the fly fishing world is that it's full of a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, more and more young people.
And the more who are very involved in social media and sharing photos, pictures, images of their outdoor lifestyle.
Right.
And to me, that just it gets people outside. It gets people thinking about more than your 9 to 5, your office, or the city. It's a neat.
Well, they embrace
move.
social media,
Right.
Instagram, Facebook. You guys have a bigger presence on Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram, for sure. Yeah, it's been our best social media platform. I think partly that's just because it was my favorite platform.
Yeah.
So it's like easier for me to push stuff off of my mobile than be scheduling stuff on Facebook.
It's also just a visual platform.
Right.
Like, obviously, the designs are the focus of our apparel, so having it visual. And then everybody loves a good fish picture. So,
well, no doubt, the whole hunting and fishing community just seems to have move to Instagram because it's like you said, it's picture focused.
Yeah. If I want to put some dorky video or meme up, it's usually on Facebook.
Right.
It's like the low class stuff I post on Facebook, and then the high class I put on Instagram. But I'm shifting. Like I'm putting more low class on Instagram every day.
That's fine.
So, Corinne, you fish.
I do.
Did you fish before you met Garrison, or has he converted you?
I did technically fish before I met Garrison, because we both are from Colorado. You can't really grow up in Colorado without having some sort of connection to the outdoors. But we've been together for a long time, like over 12 years.
Oh, wow.
So he got me on the water pretty early. I mean, it's his number one passion, and he was like, all right, if this girl's going to hang around, she better be able to walk a river with me for a minute. So he got me out with a fly rod for the first time probably about 11 or 12 years ago.
Wow.
And it stuck pretty easily. You know, it was a gradual progression to where I became more independent, and he didn't have to, like, follow me around going, mend the line.
Yeah. And
now I can do that on my own.
I'll be out of town on doing something and call Corinne and be like, oh, yeah, I just got back from the creek. It was pretty good. I'm like, all right. I love to hear.
So when you two go out together, are there days that you catch more than him?
I wish there were more. He is a hell of an angler, this guy. I mean, he can pull a fish out of anything. But that being said, I'll fish some bad water just because he's on the good hole. So that's the kind of gentleman I marry. And I'll pull, 3 fish out of there, and he's thinking, God, I got her. I left her in the bad stuff. And
yeah, don't let her fool you. She'll be up on some marginal piece of fast water just yanking fish out. I'm going, what am I doing? I'm on the honey seam right here, struggling.
That'll learn you to put me on the bad one.
You'll also be glad to know that Corinne went out on her first big game hunt this fall with me.
I did.
So didn't quite fill a tag.
I didn't fill any tags.
Yeah.
I had tags, so I walked my rifle around.
Elk, deer, or?
Yeah, deer and antelope.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
We saw a lot of game. We filled some of Garrison's tags. We just had different tags, so it was really fun. So I was there for the
That's
field
cool.
dressing
And how was it?
It was great. I mean, Garrison makes fun of me because I am a little bit of a softie, but then I'm fascinated by roadkill and stuff. So I always want to kind of investigate what is this
and we
how
love
did it die?
the full circle and the culinary piece. So being involved from that start to finish is something that really has
being
grown
able to pull
our
something
relationship.
out of the freezer that we remember exactly where it was.
Yeah,
was amazing.
I was giving Chad crap yesterday because we watched the fly fishing film tour, and I'm like, dude, do they not kill a single fish? Do they not eat fish? Eat one of those freaking fish. And it's really tough. Like in the hunting side, you really there's almost always a culinary piece attached to the hunt nowadays, more than ever.
Right,
and,
which I think is good.
I do too. And so we're going to do a podcast a little later today talking about, actually eating fish with a fish biologist and stuff. And there's a lot of, I like catch and release. I like that. I also like to eat fish and would like to see more fish eaten, which seems to be blasphemy.
We were joking.
I think that the two cultures need to come together a little bit because I think, like Steve Ranella, I love listening to him talk about catch and release, right?
He's got some funny...
He's fired up about
He's
it.
got a perspective there, which I love, and I love all of his books and his show. But I think that there is a very strong place for catch and release, and the fly fishing community that can be taken a little bit too far or as gospel. And I think more importantly, it's knowing your fishery.
Yep.
What's native, what's not.
I agree.
What are the limits? What is the capability, regardless of limits, of that particular fishery? I mean, we love to go up on high altitude cutthroat streams here locally where there are still native cutthroats, but there are also a ton of invasive brook trout.
Yep.
And we will whack and stack some brookies and bring them home and put them on the grill.
Perfect.
And they're fantastic. And we don't feel bad about that. I think it's more about the time and the place. And it is sacrilegious in the fly fishing community to show a picture of a dead fish ever, which I get, but I think there has to be, more importantly, some knowledge. And there's also a lot of misinformation in the fly fishing community. I mean, a lot of people think brown trout are native.
Right.
In Europe, they are.
That's not to say we shouldn't respect them, and there shouldn't be catch and release fisheries that feature brown trout, but I think we also need to maintain some broader perspective on some of these issues.
Well, I was joking with him last night, and next year you might just see a film in there by us, and we're going to catch a fish and whack it on the head and fillet it.
I asked Chad, I go, if we do a film and we kill a fish, are we going to get kicked out of the tour?
It's possible.
It's possible.
I don't think that we'd make it into the tour.
Which is fine. I think it's, for me, I'm such a big proponent of, seeing, and it sounds callous at times, but the outdoors also has a natural resource element to it.
Right.
And when we can go out and fish a river, especially when a biologist has kind of done their studies and they're like, okay, we can sustain this kind of harvest rate, so we're going to endorse, this. I think it's great when sportsmen, sportswomen decide to restrict themselves. Right? That's when you know that they really care about the environment. When a guy goes out and he doesn't, for example, he's like, my freezer's full. I'm on this hunt because I want to be out here and I'm looking for this certain age class bull elk, But he's not just killing one to stack another one up, and he chooses not to do it. That's his choice, and I totally respect it, and I think that's great. Same with fishing. When you release a fish, especially one that's native or if it's rare or limited. But in other areas, I'm like, this river is just drowning with fish, and you're vilified if you keep one. And it's like, I'd rather see people go out and fish than buy chicken at this supermarket, because I'm nothing against farming. I have a lot of farmers that are friends, but there's a balance, I think, where we have this natural resource, but we choose not to use it, and then instead impact the environment alternatively through, buying stuff from a chicken farm, which has its impact. If we can reduce that impact by using the natural resource, I think that's great, as long as we keep those fisheries healthy,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the focus and the priority has to be getting people out and appreciating that resource. And if that's keeping a couple fish every now and again in the right circumstance, I think that's great. I think as long as people really appreciate those animals, and the same thing with hunting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of non-hunters don't realize how much hunters care about those places and those animals, and how much dollars are poured into those places and protecting those animals by hunters. And I think we all have a footprint on this earth as humans.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable.
Right.
I don't care if you drive a Prius and you're a vegan.
Right.
Your footprint on this earth as a human displaces and kills other animals.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, it may not be direct.
The luxuries that we have today.
Absolutely. And, if that's your lifestyle choice, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Right? And you may not choose to be directly involved in killing another animal.
Well, and we just have to do our best to educate the public, right?
Yeah, education is key on all these things.
You guys are giving back to Trout Unlimited, which is a great platform to educate people on trout and fisheries. That's why I like Meat Eater Podcast. Gritty Bowman does a great job of educating people on conservation, and we just have to let our voices be heard.
One of my favorite events, like we have all these shows that we go to, by far, after being at all these different events last year, one of my favorites was Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Rendezvous.
They put on a great party with a lot of good seminars.
It was party. No joke.
I told Lance we'll be there
party.
this year. Come hell or high water, we'll be there.
The place is incredible. All these like-minded sportsmen, sportswomen out there, like promoting, the protection of our public lands and so on. And it's cool to be around that many people with the same goals.
Absolutely.
And very engaged in the local issues and the regional and the national.
Yep.
So it was pretty cool to talk to you guys yesterday and to get one of these hats, which, can you describe to people what this hat is all about?
So it's a collaborative hat with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, we love some of these same points of that organization. I think now maybe the BHA and hunting community could go a little bit more in the catch and release direction at times. But that aside, we love BHA, and the public lands piece I think is so important now more than ever. So we were talking with Land, and I hunt with Tim Brass, who's a BHA worker here in Colorado and good friend of mine. So we were talking about doing a collaborative design, and I just started working on something that I thought communicated backcountry, had an homage to their bear print logo, which I think says a lot in and of itself, and then tied in both fishing and hunting. So we kind of went through a lot of iterations on that design, but I think came up with something that says hunting, fishing, backcountry.
They sell those off of their website, so you can buy it from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers directly. You can buy it from us, and when you buy it from us, we donate 50% of the profits from that one. 50%. Yeah, so that one's a bigger chunk than our normal 1% of sales.
You better buy another one.
So every time someone buys this hat or this shirt, 50% of that goes back to Backcountry Hunters and Anglers.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And then explain what Backcountry Hunter and Anglers does with it.
Well, they work extremely hard on kind of the political side, the education piece, to keep the public lands that we use to fish and hunt on in public hands, which I think a lot of people take for granted, and I was certainly one of those even a few years ago that just sort of assumed,
we got this.
Federal land is federal land. It's BLM. It's
public. It's not going anywhere.
It is what it is. It's there, and
in hindsight, such a ridiculous assumption, right?
Exactly,
because it's all political.
Yes,
so.
And there's a lot of people that want it.
Yeah,
well, it's a very valuable piece, and there's a lot of fallout. I think there's a lot of education to be done in the fishing and hunting community. Amid states' rights push and a lot of other things, which. It can be very easily misconstrued, and the long-term fallout can be very easily misunderstood, and BHA is an extremely important voice in that fight, along with other
sportsman
access initiatives that they work on, keeping...
They're just basically trying to ensure that public lands remain public, which includes... access rights, if it's whether it's river laws, especially for you guys.
Right. And so we're working on a they're working on a stream access campaign as well. We did some hats for that as well for them. So trying to kind of unify the country on what stream access laws are, and you guys both know, I'm sure, how many gray areas there are there,
in Utah.
Federal rights versus state
right
laws, and Utah is kind of on the forefront of that.
I had Randy Newberg on the podcast, and he's a big, public land advocate.
Yeah, love Randy.
He's a little fired up sometimes, and so you can push Andy's buttons and really get the show going. It's pretty fun. But he was talking about, these public lands and keeping them public, and it really does take someone. A 2-minute soundbite doesn't explain the issues.
Right.
And from the outside looking in, where I tend to lean conservative and stuff, I tend to go for these candidates, in political places that aren't necessarily proponents of public land. They are proponents of the Second Amendment, which I like as well. But they're okay with transferring it from federal to state, which sounds good on paper, but the reality is so much different. And so I run into this every week, and it's no joke. People come across shows we've done. People share shows we've done with their friends, and the light comes on for people all the time going, oh, wow, I was completely confused on this issue. Like, I thought I was on the right side of this.
And if my state has control of it, they're going to protect it. That does not equate.
I mean, look at state trust land in Colorado. there's a lot of state trust land, and a huge percentage of it you can't step foot on.
Yep.
When you
can't
dig
do
deep,
anything.
When you dig deep and look at, in Western lands, how much used to be public land, 10, 20, 30 years ago, and how much is sold off private today, it's disturbing, and it's really concerning. And, Brian's the one that put me on to backcountry hunters and anglers and just learning about that. I had no idea, like states like Nevada and Utah, how much public land has been sold off over the years. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, in Oregon, the classic example, because it's right at home, is this Elliott State Forest, and the Oregon gave those, or the federal government, gave that land to the state so that they could use that land to raise money. I mean, it's got acres and acres of logging country, and the state has that from the government so that they could monetize that, log it, and use it for schools and pay for schools. But it's tied up in so much litigation that they haven't been able to log it in years, and they can't get through that litigation. So now it's just costing them money instead of generating income.
Right.
And their job is to make money and keep the money flowing. And so the solution is to sell it. But it's such a short-term fix because once it's sold, it's sold.
Right.
It just handles the immediate.
Right.
It doesn't fix the long-term problem. And the idea that, well, let's just get more land from the federal government and then we'll be able to monetize that. Yeah. Well, if you can't monetize what you have already, if you can't leverage the assets that are there already, you're not going to be able to do it on all this new stuff.
Right.
It's not this magic wand, boom, it's fixed. And my state, I love, government in general, whether it's state or at the federal level, is largely dysfunctional in most places. So it's not like one government's better than another government.
Right.
So for me, the whole issue, I can go down, this rabbit hole. But what I like about BHA and what Randy Newberg said, he's like, look, hunters are out there fighting for their rights. They're all like football players. But this is a soccer game, and we're not playing soccer. We run on the fields to play football, and we keep losing, and we can't figure out why. We need more soccer players. And he's like, soccer players are in the courtrooms. They're at the hearings. They're involved in litigation. Well, you can bitch about it all you want on social media and carry a picket down on the street, but if you don't actually go to the courtroom, you have no impact.
Yeah, where the decision is actually made.
Yeah, so he's like, that's what I like about BHA is, sportsmen are coming together and they're playing soccer. There's a lot of passion, but sportsmen tend to just not get involved in those areas. And so it's neat to have organizations. And Theodore Roosevelt, TCRP, what is it? TRCP? I hate acronyms.
I'm not good with that one either for whatever reason. But we love what they do as well.
Yeah, and there's a few others, and it's been neat to see that growth. And when you have a brand like Rep Your Water, Rep Your Wild, and it goes into, like you said earlier, like Cabela's, and you got this killer hat, right? And it's hip and cool to wear it, and a lot of young people are getting involved, and they buy it. They can't help but figure out what it's about or hear about it. So I think it's neat in two ways. One, there's true dollars going back into conservation with every purchase, whether it's 1%, 50%, or whatever you've worked in collaboration with your partners. But two, it's that other part that you were explaining earlier, Corinne, where it's creating awareness.
Yeah.
Right. And hopefully the person who buys that hat, who's never heard of backcountry hunters and anglers, but loves the design, and then it says backcountry hunters and anglers on the side.
Yep.
It's going to go.
And they they just bought it because it's cool. They run into somebody at the trade show, and they're like, dude, backcountry hunters and anglers, that's awesome. And they're like, yeah, it's awesome. And then they go back and then they Google it.
They check it out.
Well, good work, guys. Really appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we need to do it some more. I'd love to. If people tune into the podcast, they can look at the video version, and we'll film some of your designs and stuff, and they can just look it up on YouTube. And
that sounds good. And we'll have to talk bow hunting more one of these days, and Chad, I hate to tell you, but I tied on my big drop jaw that I was really saving. I got whacked, but I didn't get it back at a bad knot. Bad knot.
Classic
Yeah,
move.
it's classic.
That's hard.
Classic.
That happens. We'll have to get you a new
It
one.
was a tough day.
That one was
really tough day
surrendered
for me,
to the river gods.
The first time we went fishing with the guys at Flycraft, and they pulled out this giant. What is it? Was it one of your flies?
Yeah, it's baby whitey.
Baby whitey. It was huge. I mean, the fish, he caught a cutthroat. Like, it was a nice cutthroat. But the fish was like, the bait was,
They're
it's not bait,
hungry
right?
little
It's a lure or
A fly.
streamer.
We got to get your terminology.
I know, I'm trying, dude.
Here. We got to get
It's
your terminology.
imitating bait, though, so you're not, like, far off with that.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Like,
It imitates a bait fish.
last night we were watching the movie, and he's like, there's this permit fishery, and blah, blah. I'm like, Chad, why don't they just go to get the permit and fish it then? And he's like, dude, a permit is a fish. And I'm like, well, why don't they call it a permit fish then? He's like, they don't call it a trout fish.
I'm like, they don't call it a rainbow fish.
So I'm getting the lingo down. There was a couple other things like tailing the fish. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
You're going to get it.
Yeah. But I think what would be cool is if you guys made a bow hunting specific kind of incorporate arrows and bows
Don't worry,
into one of your
it's already in the
designs.
cooker.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
It's
I was
coming.
just
It's
gonna
coming
ask
down the pipe.
anything new that you guys are working on that you can talk about?
Yeah, I could give you, we were just talking about native fish and native species, so really excited. We've been working with the Western Native Trout Initiative.
Okay.
And they're a public-private organization. They work with state agencies, but they also have nonprofit funding, and their mission is native trout species and char species in the West.
Cool.
And really promoting those. So hopefully early summer we will have out a unique hat for all 21 Western native trout and char species tied to the Western native trout.
Recognized by the Western Native Trout
And
Initiative.
admittedly, those demarcations between species are a little bit gray, even from depending on which biologist you talk with.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be really neat, and those will push back money to them and kind of what they do a little bit. And there's a lot of trout hats out there, but there's not a lot of Bonneville cutthroat hats out there. So it's going to be, I think, a really
awesome.
neat project, and they'll all fit together kind of as a unified collection. So that's one thing that should be, relatively soon, early summer, that those come out
That's
that we're
sweet.
excited about.
So cool. So you are a busy man just designing.
Yeah,
Well-
everyone asked me where he was yesterday because I was at the booth here alone, and I was like, he is at the drawing board. Like, he is getting designs done.
That's cool, man. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many unique ones. I would just see. I'm so creative in that space that every hat would look about the same with a slight tweak. One will say Colorado, one will say Arizona, but the hat will look the same.
So anyway, that's a little sneak peek at something
Cool.
that's coming out that we're excited about. So stay tuned on that one.
Look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
We got to get you guys out to Utah sometime and come catch some of those bonnies. And
I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Sure.
Bonneville's one that's on my list that I've never caught. So
Yeah, we need to go. I need to go too. Chad has a nice setup. We can go and be fun to go fishing.
Perfect.
You can watch me. I catch a lot of fish, dude. Even though I'm not very good.
I look forward to seeing that.
I caught a
catching
lot.
fish is catching fish.
Dude, I caught, I don't know, like 40 whitefish. Maybe that's an exaggeration. I caught 20 and I caught 2 trout. And these guys caught they couldn't catch a whitefish.
You
Something's
get going
wrong,
on
dude.
the whitefish,
going on
and
those
you
whiteys.
get going. I will get going on a pot of whitefish in a hurry.
I'm like, what? Is this like anti-trout line right here? Something I was doing was.
it's just fun to catch fish, though.
It is.
It is.
I was telling
Regardless of
him.
what they are. You feel that line go tight, and it's game on.
Oh, I
It's
didn't.
Fun.
Just getting a fish on a fly rod over and over again was really neat, and the fish they fought great. I was like, these
You know it's a
whitefish are
whitey
not
because you
bad.
don't
That-
get the head shakes.
Yeah. It's a wiggly
It's that
whitey.
motor tail. Just you can feel it down there throbbing, but there's no head shakes. You hook a good trout, and you can feel those head shakes going.
Interesting.
And then you hook into a rainbow. and they launch out of the water, and it looks like those tarpon we were watching last night. Rainbows are fun.
It's cool. I'm very excited to do a lot more fishing this year.
Good. Well, we hope to get out on the water with both of you guys.
Yeah, it'd be cool. All right. Stay gritty.
Yeah,
yep.
for
Stick
sure.
them solid. Thanks, guys.
Hey friends, thanks for listening to the Gritty Angler Podcast. We love to hear your feedback. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook and on our website, www.grittyangler.com. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and our YouTube channel. Please remember, our right to fish depends on habitat. Let's be good stewards of our fisheries and fight to protect our public lands.
Friends, hunters, outdoorsmen, lend me your ears. Please take this moment to listen to this excerpt from the Gritty Bowman film, Back to Traditions. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it. We want to thank Kifaru, Mountain Ops, Hoyt, Vortex, Phelps, Black Eagle Arrows, and Crispy Boots for supporting the Gritty Bowman. We love these companies and the people behind them. They truly make fantastic products. Please support them whenever you can. And as always, good luck on your hunts and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.